This is one of the most crazy stories that has come across at least my desk in a while. Alt-right fight clubs, alt-right clubs, alt-white clubs. There are real fight clubs that are proudly alt-right, white supremacist fight clubs. They have actually these amazing little, promo reels. Let's take a look at one.
Do we have to?
So hard, bro.
I can't. We can't talk about this without Hassan. Where's Hassan?
Hassan, no, he's not here. He's
Get Hassan.
I don't know where he is. I used his desk today. It's amazing.
He's definitely doing that. Whatever he is, he's
the incline push-ups, the high-fiving. I think that's the one.
The music, right?
The music really just. It was so catchy. What was that?
It was
song?
a little like a little emo electronic.
Reggaeton.
Like yo, was that emo reggaeton?
That was. It was
exactly
a reggaeton beat.
It was a reggaeton beat.
Yeah.
There's so many ironies to look at there.
It's so amazing.
I want to see the behind the scenes of that shoot. Like, Jason, no, like a little further to the left. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, you can see your tat right there. Like
what is that?
Your swastika's really.
Do we know what that group is called? Do they have a name?
We do. I don't want to say their name.
I don't blame you. We shouldn't.
The acronym is RAM. This is the name of it. It's RAM. The
Sounds
RAM
like
group.
A truck.
And this is one of many. This one, it's actually a thing. Unfortunately, they don't just beat up each other. The group, which calls itself the premier MMA fight club, or MMA club of the alt-right representing the United States, made its public debut on March 25th at a Make America Great Again rally
right here
in Huntington Beach, California, that drew more than 2,000 Trump supporters. A 2017 investigation by ProPublica tracked its members and activities over the year, finding that they were in the middle of violent melees in Huntington Beach, Berkeley, San Bernardino, and Charlottesville. One member served 20 months in state prison for stabbing a Latino man 5 times, including in the neck, in what the court called a gang assault. I mean, so they are using this.
At least they're calling it a gang.
Yeah.
At least the courts recognize it as a gang. So keep going, what are you saying?
So a lot of them say, I don't know if I have, oh yeah, so this is a post on a forum for alt-right group, said a confederation of MMA clubs are being formed to teach our folks self-defense. With the rise of left-wing terrorism, it went on, a number of martial arts fighters and or veterans felt that it was necessary for our people to learn how to defend themselves against domestic terrorist mob attacks carried out by Black Lives Matter and Antifa. The post states several nationalist organizations are lending aid to this endeavor.
Wow, amazing. Domestic terrorism. Last I checked, no one from BLM shot and killed 9 churchgoers in a black church in North Carolina. Like what? I think it's North Carolina.
Here's what I like about a mixed martial arts group being a white supremacist group is most of your martial arts are Asian. We're the best. White people rock. We're the best people. Let's beat people up using taekwondo, karate.
And let's play emo reggaeton while we do it.
It's like, what are you doing?
No reggaeton, no martial arts borrowed from anywhere other than, Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach.
Even Krav Maga is Israeli. The Maga does not stand for Make America Great Again.
The other thing, well, first of all, in their weirdo pecking order of white supremacy, Asians, more advanced because they're nuts. And the other, also we are. No, but I think what's interesting about Fight Club actually, first of all, I'm glad they're beating each other up instead of protesters or people of color or Latinos, but clearly they have a history of doing that. But I think that this Fight Club meme is not something to be taken lightly, and they got it all wrong. Okay, Fight Club was never about white supremacy, but they love Fight Club, like Fight Club the movie, right?
Oh, yes.
They love and they fetishize Fight Club, but actually Fight Club was a totally it was basically like an affront on capitalism. It was like this hyper-capitalist world in which we're all supposed to look a certain way, dudes who always wear khakis and white shirts, and we're all supposed to, be a certain way, and we're supposed to just buy, like, the way that we work, it's all wrong, And I think that is something I heard Bernie Sanders say a little bit about, and people who support socialism are super down with that. So the fact that you could co-opt Fight Club into being some sort of white supremacist, like fascist narrative is a total disservice to Brad Pitt.
That's what they love doing, co-opting things that aren't theirs, like Depeche Mode. They tried to make Depeche Mode the band of the alt-right. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Isn't that tragic?
That sounded like a Mad Lib.
Yeah, that's how life is these days. It all sounds like a Mad Lib. But I mean, in all seriousness, this is scary if they are not just fighting themselves, like you said, and they are going out and attacking people. I covered this story in Orange County, actually, speaking of Orange County, about Blaze Bernstein. He was a college student who was home on break, and he was brutally murdered by a former classmate of his named Samuel Woodward. And when I saw his mugshot, I mean, I hate to almost profile, but I saw his haircut, and it looked like one of those modern fascist neo-Nazi haircuts. And immediately I thought, oh gosh, I hope my suspicions aren't right. But it turns out he was a part of this Nazi training camp called Atomwaffen Division, which is this camp, these camps, which seem similar to this thing that we just watched, where they're training and they're breeding murderers. So, I mean, you talk about radicalization and terrorism, it's happening right here on our soil. Really quickly, there's hope out there through organizations like Life After Hate. It was started by a group of former white supremacists and former neo-Nazis, and they, through compassion, something that a lot of us don't have, and it's very difficult to exercise compassion with people that want to hate you or want to kill you. They are working to reverse the effects of racism and bigotry and hatred. So if this story startles you, go and look up Life After Hate.
You just watched the video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.